Many thanks for choosing us. Now, the Attorney General, Gloria Kufuor, has described the Ghana Football Association as an obscene emblem of scandal, corruption and illegal enterprise. Mr. Kufuor on Tuesday got an Accra High Court to place a 10-day injunction on the association and its members. This bars the GFA and its officials from carrying out any official duties such as the organization of football matches, selling of the association's assets, appointment and election of officials and other official duties. The ruling of the court follows an application for restraining order on the GFA while legal steps are being taken to liquidate the association. It comes after a documentary showing officials of the association, including its president, Kwesi Nyantakyi, allegedly receiving cash gifts. Joy News' Joseph Akable was in court for Joy News.
In an address that lasted well over an hour, Attorney General Gloria Kufuor canvassed points to support her position that officials of the GFA should be restrained from holding themselves as such. She made references to the 2014 Commission of Inquiry report, to the expose by investigative journalist Anas Arimia Anas. The GFA in its current structure has simply become unfit for purpose, calling on the court to grant her request. She said it is clear that the FA is being used to serve personal purposes of its leaders and not for the sake of the FA itself, as in improving upon sport and developing the game as a whole. In engaging the press after court proceedings, the Attorney General explained that the ultimate aim of government is to have the GFA dissolved.
It is the view of government that the GFA, as constituted presently, is not performing the objects for which it was incorporated. And from the Anas video, clearly it's being used as a vehicle for illegality. And the government cannot sit back, and therefore the Attorney General, as the protector of the public interest. Because remember, government puts in a lot of support, be it financial or logistic. So we cannot spend even 1 second. And significantly, if you go back to the Jamepe Commission report, it's a clear indication that these things have been going on for far too long. And in fact, when you look at the video, the perpetrators themselves testify to the fact that it is normal, but it's the modus. So it was felt that we have to urgently arrest the situation pending the determination of the petition.
It is public knowledge that a 7-member committee has been set up by some individuals who belong to the association with the aim of engaging government to try and talk government out of the possibility of dissolving the association once they've already started the legal processes. The AG says even though she's not aware, they are willing to engage them.
As justice, as a person who should be promoting justice, I will not refuse to hear them. But that should not change the process we have started. I have not received, you are telling me for the first time, I do not know about this intended meeting, but anybody, as a public servant, anybody who seeks to me, as much as it's practicable, I will see. As to the outcomes, I cannot be there. I can only say categorically that we will go on with this petition.
AG Gloria Kufuor wants the clubs who have been affected by her push for the injunction to remain patient as they sanitize the association.
Not only the players, those of us who watch also want to watch. But we can't pretend we are running a good FA with all these things that are going on.
With the interim order granted by the court, the substantive petition is still before it. That petition was filed by the Attorney General Gloria Kufuor herself, asking that the court initiates the process of dissolving the office, the association, that is the Ghana Football Association, by appointing the Registrar General as the official liquidator. That petition will be decided by the court later on. So that petition, as it stands, is currently before the court. Reporting for Joy News on the Law Court Complex, my name is Joseph Akable.
We can take a look at how the AG argued out her case for the interim order. And just about, you see it on your screens right now, the Attorney General, she pushed for the GFA dissolution, and this has become an obscene emblem of scandal. That's how she describes the GFA, and she says it's corruption and illegal enterprise. It was for this reason that in 2014, President Mahama set up the Commission of Inquiry following the World Cup. The GFA has now become an instrument for self-aggrandizement by people who run it to make themselves wish rich. And the video shows how low the GFA has sunk and cannot legally continue to exist. What's going on at GFA is not limited to subscribers and directors. GFA has lost its image. Those are the words of the Attorney General, Madam Gloria Ekufuor, in court while she argued for that 10-day injunction on the GFA. And she says, immediately you mention Ghana, people know it's the country where Black Stars are from. This image has been brought into disrepute. They go as far as fixing matches, important matches such as that of Kotoko and Hearts of Oak, forgetting what happened on May 9. All right, so Gloria Ekufuor was making all of these in court to get an injunction to stop all football activities, and she goes on and on and on to say GFA has undermined its existence, and therefore in the interest of protecting the national interest, we say the Attorney General owes the duty to take urgent measures to stop this. Despite all these rogue, people still want to represent the Football Association. Those were the words of the Attorney General. And she said the longer the FA is allowed to exist, the lower we sink. At the end of the day, if they are not stopped, there is no way the public interest will be redeemed. The GFA will lose nothing. A refusal of this application will lead to greater hardship for the state. And I'm sure these words encouraged the 10-day injunction that was given to her to ban all football activities of the Ghana Football Association. So if you thought the GFA has been dissolved following Tuesday's court case, the news is that the process to dissolve the association has just started. The 10-day injunction granted by the court only seeks to restrain officials of Ghana Football Association from carrying out all official duties. Now, Deputy Attorney General and Minister of Justice Joseph Dendiong Benka spoke earlier on Top Story on what next after the injunction.
Today we went ex parte. The appropriate rule that actually we invoked was Order 25 of the Civil Procedure Rules. And we looked specifically at 1.9, where it gives the opportunity to the court in extremely urgent situations to grant interim orders for 10 days. Now, the order after 10 days, if we do not go back to the court after 10 days, it lapses. So what it means, therefore, is that we will now come with the same application, with the same ingredients and everything, but we will serve this time the GFA, and they will have the right to be heard. And then they will file their affidavit in opposition, they will file their statement of case, and thereafter the case will be determined on its merit based on the application for interlocutory injunction at that stage. Then also the petition itself, they will respond appropriately. So if this application is about to lapse and we make an application and we serve the GFA this time, it will be their right to either respond or not to. So they have two things to do: to respond to our affidavit and statement of case for the injunction to be continued after the 10 days, and then also to respond to the petition itself. So they have two things to do. They can choose to reply or not to reply. If they choose to, then it will be determined on merit after arguments are heard from both counsels.
Title sponsor of the Ghana Premier League says it would watch keenly for the unfolding events at the Ghana Football Association to determine its next line of action. Speaking on Top Story earlier, Communications Director for Xylophone Cash Halifax Ansado says the association has not breached any aspect of the contract, hence has no cause to terminate the contract.
What is going to happen to the investment that we put in? Well, we remain calm and we observe with keen interest and attention. Our only prayer is that all the stakeholders would resolve whatever challenges that has come up with some sense of urgency. It has not discouraged our commitment to supporting the development of sports in this country. No matter what the outcome of these challenges would be, it is a fact, and it remains a fact, that football in this country would not be held on hold perpetually. And when we eventually begin football again, there will still be some deficits that corporate Ghana would need to provide some credits by way of sponsorship. And when that occurs, our commitment to supporting sports is still there. The losses now, we're only monitoring and hoping and praying that it will be solved with some sense of urgency for us to, continue to demonstrate that support.
So I guess the fundamental point is that you are not cancelling your package for the league.
What I'm saying is that either it is a new league that will reconstitute, a new FA that will reconstitute, we are still determined to supporting the development of sports in this country, irrespective of who heads the FA or irrespective of, who is found guilty or innocent.
Still to come in this bulletin, Health Ministry to set up health intelligence unit to monitor activities at various hospitals across the country, including the infamous no-bed syndrome, even as it launches investigations into the death of a 70-year-old man who was turned away by 7 hospitals. And a 1-year-old baby also has been allegedly injected with an expired intravenous drug benzopenicillin at the Amasaman Government Hospital. Parents of the baby want the hospital to sign an undertaking accepting full responsibility in case anything happens to the child. We're back.
I want them to sign an undertaking accepting that they gave my baby expired drugs and will bear any consequences should anything happen to the baby.
We're back in a jiffy. Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Now to the rest of our stories. And Health Minister Kwekwajiman Menu has stated the ministry will soon set up health intelligence units to monitor activities at various hospitals across the country. This follows the death of a 7-year-old man who was turned away by 7 hospitals in the capital. Mr. Ajiman Menu also added they have launched investigations into alleged sale of beds at hospitals, warning that those found culpable will be dealt with.
It is my wish that the no-bed syndrome that is currently becoming something that will not go away every morning will soon cease. We are hearing in the ministry, Mr. Chair, that beds are still in Korle Bu. And when I got that information, I was thinking that we were short of beds and people were selling beds to people in Korle Bu. Not knowing that it is the way we are describing the situation where when you put down money, you get a bed. We are investigating that. And anybody caught in this respect will be dealt with according to the laws and the sanctions regimes that we have in our service delivery window. We are not joking on this matter. I'm glad the DG and the chair of the Ghana Health Service is taking that matter up. And I'm engaging with the teaching facilities to see how best this will stop as immediate as possible.
That was Kwekwajiman Menu, Health Minister, addressing the issue of no beds after a 70-year-old man died when he was turned away by 7 hospitals in the capital. Meanwhile, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Anthony Nsiah-Asare, has confirmed that a special committee will be set up to probe the death of the 70-year-old man who died in his car after being turned away by 7 hospitals due to lack of beds.
Ghana Health Service is setting up committee.
We are investigating the matter to ascertain whether the fault is from our health systems or the fault of the health workers.
Regulatory bodies.
We have regulatory bodies to probe such issues.
nti obi yɛ saa bɔne no a na yehu sɛ saa de na esi a yɛbɛda na ma saa regulatory body no na ɔmo so ahwɛ.
The Ghana Health Service has a disciplinary code to deal with any occurrences of this nature, and workers who will be found culpable will be dealt with according to the Code of Ethics.
But me dey hear me kese any system.
Meanwhile, Speaker of Parliament Professor Aaron Michael Quay has called for laws to criminalize turning away of patients by health facilities under emergency situations. The no-bed syndrome has come up as a major flaw in the healthcare delivery system in the country. And to other stories, and still on health though, a 1-year-old baby has been allegedly injected with an expired intravenous drug benzylpenicillin for injection BP 1000 and at the Amasaman Government Hospital located in the West Municipal Assembly here in the Greater Accra region. The drugs, according to the boy's mother, Linda Sapon, were bought at the hospital's pharmacy after a specialized doctor had diagnosed the child of bronchopneumonia or simply chest infection.
All the 7 drugs prescribed for the baby, according to the family, had expired. It took the vigilance of a night shift nurse to identify that one of the drugs the baby had been injected with was expired. Adom TV News' Nana Sefa, who had visited them at the hospital, reported that 3 of the drugs that the boy's parents had in possession had also expired. The mother of the baby, Linda Sapon, explains.
Labs, checking for malaria, whiteout tests and all that, but it was negative.
The series of tests run earlier was negative, so a specialist came around, checked the baby's BP and said my baby had bronchopneumonia. He prescribed some drugs which we bought from the hospital's pharmacy. At about 1 a.m., a nurse came around to check up on the baby and realized the drugs had expired. She asked me to go back to the pharmacy with a receipt for a replacement. All the drugs had different expiry dates, mostly in 2017. Only one had a March 18, 2018 expiry date. On my way to the pharmacy, another nurse told me not to be worried, as nothing will happen to the baby. Later, a doctor from Kolebu prescribed another medicine for us.
Dr. Baron say it's not working.
Father of the boy, Kwame Sapon, expressed frustrations at the Amasaman Government Hospital authorities, alleging they are refusing to accept the fact that the drugs were expired.
Hospital.
Went to see the medical superintendent about the expired drugs, but till date, we haven't heard from him. I've sent him a text message, but there's still no reply. While on admission, the baby was bitten by bed bugs. The hospital has refused to accept responsibility for being negligent. I want the hospital to sign an undertaking accepting that they gave my baby expired drugs and will bear any consequences should anything happen to the baby.
The hospital has signed an undertaking, say, Medime Baniba has a woman a drew way are not I spy. Ne do not spy no. And in TCBB, if you move bar, hospital no should be held responsible.
Meanwhile, the hospital's medical superintendent, Dr. Isa Pontiamwa, says they have set up a committee to investigate what might have led to the sale and injection of the baby with expired drugs.
Join you to follow this incident and bring viewers last-minute updates on what will happen to this baby. And let's get into the transportation sector. Imagine having to wait for 3 hours for vaccine. You need to be transported from another hospital to where you are to treat you just because the latter has no facility to store the vaccines. That is the fate of patients at the Abromasi Abromasi Health Center in the East Gonja district of the Northern Region. The hospital has no electricity nor a generator to store vaccines, hence rely on the #1 health center in the Pro district of the Bunahafo region, which is about 3 hours drive to store their vaccines. Martina Bugri sent in the following report.
The Abromasi Health Center is the only health center in the Kro traditional area, which serves about 48,000 people. Even though the center is in the East Gonja municipality, it takes close to 5 hours to get to its capital, Salaga, which makes the nurses rely on the #1 health center in the Pro district to store their vaccines. Principal Health Assistant of the center, Mohammed Hudu Kojo, said because they do not have electricity, they would have to always rely on #1 health center, which is about 3 hours to the area.
We have limited drugs. We have limited drugs that we can bring. Those who need more refrigerated, we don't bring them. We have to cut our coat according to our size here. It's a very huge population here. It's not a small area. It's not a small area, and all the conditions cut across here. That's why I was saying we need a proper referral system.
A teacher at the Jantuto DA Primary School, Husseini Joseph, said they have lost hope in never getting electricity in the area. He said government after government have made promises, but none has yielded any results.
2004, and up to now, they are still lying down. Some of them, they are even covered, the glasses have covered everything. The number of years the poles have been lying down convinced me that there's no likelihood that we'll be getting the electricity.
But MC for the area, Mohammed Tamimu, said they are working hard to bring electricity to the area.
It affects a lot of things. Education, one. Like you said, children are not able to read at night. The child cannot manipulate the computer because no light. It affects health because even the health posts there, they will need electricity to be able to function effectively. They will need electricity to be able to communicate. They will need lights to be able to do basic things as health officers. These things are not there, and that is even affecting us more because most of these health workers, when you send them there, because there's no light, they don't stay. The good ones will stay for a number of days and leave.
We'll take a break. When we come back, is business.
Hello again, good evening to you, then welcome to business. The Bank of Ghana is making moves to enhance its supervisory roles to cover the savings and loans industry more efficiently. This will involve carving the banking and supervision department of the bank to meet international best practices. This was disclosed by a special advisor to the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Grace Akrofi. Ebenezer Sabuti has more in this report.
The Banking Supervision Department of the Bank of Ghana has been criticized by some industry players for lack of proper monitoring on savings and loans companies and other financial institutions. According to the Ghana Association of Savings and Loans Companies, it is ready to collaborate with the central bank to flash out unlicensed operators in the system, and the Supervision Department shows more commitment to exert its authority over the sector. Speaking on behalf of the governor as keynote speaker, Special Advisor to the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Grace Akrofi, noted that the regulator is making all efforts to position the department to make the financial sector sound.
Mitigating the risk of corporate failures in the financial sector therefore calls for collective efforts to instill corporate governance principles in every financial institution. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, given the important role specialized deposits institutions play in financial intermediation, the Bank of Ghana has committed itself to carving its supervisory functions consistent with international best practices and in line with the Basel core principles for effective supervision to enhance the legal and regulatory framework. In addition, the Bank of Ghana issued corporate governance directive for banks and specialized deposits institutions, regulated under the Banks and Specialized Deposit Taking Institutions Act 2016, Act 930 in March 2018.
Executive Secretary for the Ghana Association of Savings and Loans Companies believes that there will be confidence if the collaboration between operators and the regulator in the financial system is maintained.
And so the association over the period has engaged the regulator that there are certain things that they can use the association to champion, of which some of the departments in Bank of Ghana have started using the association to get the needed results. And so we believe that a closer collaboration between the Bank of Ghana and the association will help strengthen the sector. A typical example is the rural banks. Their association, and also through the ARB Apex Bank, the regulator is able to have less burden in regulating them. And so we believe that this collaboration that we have started with the regulator should be strengthened. We should continuously be kept in the loop. When there is any policy direction or any policy document, they should continue to engage us. Currently, we have seen that improvement, that like the Corporate Governance Directive, we were involved in getting the final policy, and currently the Cyber and Information Security Policy, that one too, we were given a copy to study and make our input. We want to continue to encourage such collaborations so that any policy that affects the financial system, the savings and loans companies, and for that matter the association, should be involved. And as long as we are involved, you get the best out of it.
The association manages more than 45% of the total non-bank financial institutions' assets in the country.
Meanwhile, the Ghana Association of Savings and Loans Companies is appealing to the Bank of Ghana not to increase the minimum capital requirements by more than 100%. The Bank of Ghana has indicated its readiness to increase the capital for all financial operators in the country as a measure to strengthen the country's financial base. An interview with Joy Business, Executive Secretary of GASALG, Trinebua Kodria, disclosed that though members of the association are prepared to meet the new capital requirement, it doesn't expect anything more than 100%.
As we speak now, there has not been any particular figure that we said that we're going to increase to. Members of the association are all in agreement that there is the need for some level of capital restructuring. So members are also currently preparing themselves gradually to meet whatever amount that comes up. But we should also be mindful that whatever figure that is given for savings and loans companies to pay should be something that has a scientific base. The reasons should be apt. There should be every reason behind whatever figure.
Do you have any projection?
Oh, we cannot project out of the blue. But members are not expecting anything more than 100% of the current level, which means that if there is even any increment, members are not expecting that it should go beyond 30 million.
Why?
We wish that it doesn't go to 30 million, but it should not go beyond it, if even there is a radical need for us to increase it.
Holding company Enterprise Group Limited has revealed plans to venture into health insurance sector. This was made known at its annual general meeting for the year 2017. There's more in this report.
The company has been in operation since 2008 with 5 operating subsidiaries: Enterprise Insurance, Enterprise Life, Enterprise Trustees, Enterprise Properties and Transitions. With expertise in several fields in the insurance industry, the company has revealed plans to begin health insurance anytime soon. Kelly Gajepo is the group's CEO.
First off, the structure we have internally is a complete project management structure, which is a separate team of people who wake up in the morning and all they're doing is pursuing these plans and agendas. So that we're not mixing them up with the regular operations. So we expect our operations to continue to go. And these guys are focused with some supervision, obviously, from the top. In the case of health, we're partnering with a very experienced health insurance provider from outside Ghana, and I'm not going to name the name yet. And the intention, obviously, is to pick up the learnings and also to be able to enter the market with the full force of the thoroughbred.
He also explains the company's plan to extend its services to other parts of Africa.
We've gone far. We've now raised the money. The only thing left for us is to get our timing right in terms of market entry. So we'll do that. In the case of Nigeria and the other expansions, little is known about our Gambian operations, but we've been experimenting in international waters for a few years now. I think our Gambia operations are at least 5 years old. So those learnings are being replicated in our entry into Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire. Again, we've already gone far. I must confess, we have not concluded a transaction, but when we do, you hear of it.
The Enterprise Group Limited has revealed its intention to join the about 14 private licensed health insurance providers in the country. It's set to consolidate its position with experience it has gathered from other insurance markets, such as the life insurance market and the general insurance market. This was made known at the company's annual general meeting held here in Accra. For Joy Business, Philip Nanfuri.
And that's all we have for you by way of business tonight. Many thanks for watching. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. Good evening.
Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Let's get down to the rest of our stories. And Joy News is learning that officials of Kelny GVG are attempting to forcefully plug into data devices of telecommunications company in the country. This follows the expiration of an 11-day ultimatum from the Ministry of Communications for telcos to sign onto the Kelny GVG platform as part of the $89 million contract. The telcos had up to June 11 to plug into the system. But Joy News checks reveal issues with breach of confidential data by the company remain unresolved. We know two individuals, Sarah Safweje and Maximus Ametogo, have proceeded to court seeking an interlocutory injunction on all processes to have the telcos plug in to the monitoring platform. Earlier Tuesday, some officials of Kelny GVG reportedly stormed one of MTN data centers to demand access to some connections. My colleague Komla Adom has been checking on this and he joins me in the studio. You went to the MTN office. What did you find?
Well, Aisha, it was a very calm atmosphere when I got there, but our sources within the data center at Sakaman here in Accra tell me that officials of Kelny GVG indeed were there around midday to demand access to some connections of the data center. And we understand that the MTN staff would not allow the Kelny officials to have access to the premises because they say they hadn't got any information from their head office in Accra to allow the officials get into the premises. So they did not allow them in. And this, generated a scuffle, exchange of words, verbal exchanges at the entrance of the facility. And not long after, about 35 to 40 minutes after, the Kelny officials left the area, only to return some hours later, to once again try to attempt to get into the premises. And again, the second time, they were also foiled. They were not allowed to enter the premises. So they loitered for a few minutes and then they left the premises, Aisha.
And how do the staff of the MTN feel about this?
Well, they tell me that it is an invasion of their privacy because from nowhere, officials of Kelny GVG bump into their premises and demand access to some facilities without any prior, notice or any information from their superiors here at the head office in Accra. So they say it was an invasion of their privacy, and so that was the reason why they resisted entry of the officials into their facility. But
did you have a feel, or did you sense that MTN as a member of the telcos is not ready to, consider the directive by the the Minister for Communication?
Well, you know, all along the telcos, all they've been saying is that they want assurances by government that this monitoring platform would not invade the privacy and monitor the calls, local calls by the subscribers on the network. So they say they want assurances, but once that assurance hasn't come from government, they say they're going to resist any attempts by government to allow, to force them. That is even the reason why Maximus and Sarah Safaje proceeded to court.
So you've been speaking with the telecom chamber. What have you gathered from them?
Well, they've been hinting that there's a meeting scheduled for tomorrow, the telcos and the minister in charge of communications. They're going to be meeting tomorrow to iron out all the rough edges and come to a common ground on the implementation of this particular monitoring platform system Kelny GVG is implementing. Aisha.
Right. Many thanks to Komladum for bringing us updates from the Chamber of Telecommunication. Now, policy think tank CDD Ghana is calling for the amendment of Clause 13 in the Right to Information Bill, which has reached the consideration stage in Parliament. Clause 13 exempts disclosure of internal working information of public institutions, which includes deliberations, reports, and recommendations. Director of the group, Kojo Asante, says this provision, if kept, undermines the entirety of the bill. He was speaking at a press conference here in Accra.
We want Clause 13 deleted because we think it's one of those clauses in the exemptions that completely undermines the whole Right to Information Bill. The way it's framed basically seeks to provide a blanket exemption for all kinds of deliberations and important decisions that are made in the public service and public institutions. And we think that that is not what any exemption should seek to do. Exemptions have to be very narrow, very specific, and they have to relate to two of the public interest overrides that are there, which is a public interest relating to national security, public health, and then privacy issues. Those are the two conditions that should always guide any limitation to the right to information. This does not. And I think that we have to completely remove it because it's not necessary. We have raised the issue with Clause 5 in terms of the use of the words Office of the President. So information that is prepared or submitted to the Office of the President is exempt information. We don't have a problem generally with the idea of exempting information within the presidency. But we know that the Office of the President in our context has so many other offices. So if you don't define what Office of the President is in this context, then it means that institutions like Ghana Airways Commission and so on, who are all under the Office of the President, are basically, they are information exempt information under the law. The exemption relating to tax information, basically trying to create exemptions for tax administration information, which we feel is absolutely unnecessary. This is the same state that is trying to encourage people to pay their taxes, deal with tax evasion, address illicit financial flows. We accept that individual tax information is a privacy matter, and therefore that should be exempt. But that's already
This is Joy News Prime. Let's get to the rest of our stories. And the Tourism Ministry on Tuesday visited the Cape Coast and Elimina castles to actualize the plans of digitizing the tourist centers and to begin the implementation of plans to deal with open defecation at the castles and beaches. According to the Minister of Tourism, Catherine Afeku, the move is to redeem the image of the tourist attraction centers that have been desecrated by some residents who defecate behind the castles. Richard Kwejo Nyako joined the team and has filed this report.
The Tourism Minister, Catherine Afeku, visited the Cape Coast and Elmina castles on a three-pillar focus: to digitize the operations of the two castles, to ensure that the workers at the castles present themselves well before tourists by looking distinct in uniforms, and the third most important point, to discuss the interim and the long-term solutions to the menace of open defecation behind the castles and at the beaches. The minister shared plans and the implementation strategies designed by the ministry to curb open defecation behind the castles.
And we've also added a few security young men who will be at the site of where this horrible thing happens to sensitize those who are doing that. And once the toilet is finished, then punitive measures will immediately kick in, because now we're giving them that grace period. We're going to use the education that, look, you can't do this. This brings revenue. It's a shame and a blot on the conscience of Ghanaians, and we can't be serious if we continue with this behavior. So you have to do the education. You have to sensitize them. I understand people are saying it's been done, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt. We do it again whilst we are constructing. It's one, against health hazard is key. 2, it's against tourism. And 3, it's simply not right in 21st century to have people openly defecating against a monument of this stature.
The Tourism Ministry also brought machines to help digitize the castles to enable the ministry better track the funds that are realized from the castles.
We have a lot of good people working here, and you may have some bad apples, but you can't lump everybody into that generic basket. So we have also made this effort as one sure way of stopping revenue leakages. The second is also digitizing it, makes it seamless so the workers will have free time to do other things. The third and most critical part is the uniforms. Everywhere we have traveled to, museums, places of tourist sites, the staff have crisp, nice uniforms and with their name badges. It makes them feel proud of what they are doing, service. Even today, I saw the enthusiasm in the staff, and I'm very happy that they have wholeheartedly embraced the transformation that we bring on board.
The ministry maintains the steps being taken have been thought through to help uplift the image of the Museums and Monuments Board. Richard Kwejo-Nyakon, Joy News, Cape Coast.
We're still trying to get Kwame So to speak, who speaks for the Ghana Museum and Monuments Board. Once we get him, he will join us live for some updates. But let's talk about speakers at the 2018 Eat Stockholm Food Forum, which is taking place in Sweden, who are commending Accra Mayor Mohamed Ejei-Sowa for his efforts in managing waste in the capital. The mayor had announced on World Environment Day that he had closed down 90% of illegal refuse dumps in the capital. Mr. Sowa was supposed to have been part of a panel to discuss solutions needed for large-scale reduction of food waste, but could not attend the conference in the Swedish capital. But the director of the Global Panel on Agriculture and Food Systems for Nutrition, Professor Sandy Thomas, told Joy News' Adelaide Arthur she had heard about the mayor's efforts on waste management in Accra and had been looking forward to meeting him at the conference.
We've been hearing about the mayor of Accra here actually, and the very good work that he's been doing in relation to sustainability and particularly waste disposal. So this was very interesting. So I thought to myself, actually, next time the Global Panel comes to Accra, we would like to look at the way the city is thinking about food systems. I think there's quite a lot we could probably learn, and we could have a very useful dialogue. What we've been hearing here, which we concur with, is that there's a great opportunity for city mayors or local leadership, municipal leadership, to help make cities better places for people to afford healthy diets and have access to them. So the leadership that Ghana can show here and is showing, I think, is something we can all hear more about.
Professor Sandy Thomas also says the Global Panel, which has former President John Agyekum Kufuor as one of its co-chairs, has taken an interest in the school feeding program and is also pushing for other interventions aimed at improving nutrition among children in Ghana.
We've taken an interest in it and in other school feeding programs around the world, but the one in Ghana is one of the ones that's noted particularly because it has been in place for quite a long time. The real notable success in Ghana that I would highlight is the good news is that child undernutrition has been coming down. It was above 30%, now it's below 20%. So this is a real achievement over a relatively short number of years. The way we try and work is to bring government officials, sometimes ministers or deputy ministers, together with UN agencies, with business, with CSOs, civil society organizations, to get a sense of what the challenges are are. So the proportion of stunted children, for example, is still not much below 20% in Ghana, and about 42% of women of reproductive age are anemic. So some significant challenges there. And what we want to do in these kind of settings is to bring the evidence that we have about what kind of policy solutions are possible. Now, governments are becoming increasingly aware around the world in both high income but also developing countries about these challenges, and producing healthy diets that are affordable is very much part of the picture.
So, Madam Thomas was speaking from Sweden. Now, to our earlier story on defecation behind the Cape Coast Castle, we have Kwame Sowu, who is the chairman of the Ghana Museum and Monuments Board, joining us live on phone. Good evening to you. Many thanks for your time. Hello, sir. You are on Joy News Prime. Good evening to you. Okay, so the line has dropped. We'll be trying to get him to bring him back to speak on some efforts by the tourism minister to end open defecation. All right, I'm told Kwame Sowu is back. He's the chairman of the Ghana Museum and Monuments Board, and he joins us on phone. Good evening to you. Many thanks for your time, sir.
Yeah, good evening, madam. So, good evening to you. Is it viewers or listeners?
Viewers.
Okay, good evening
so
to you.
3 months ago, Catherine Apeku announced that the 2 people from the Ghana Museum and Monuments Board will be part of a task force to deal with open defecation behind the Cape Coast Castle. What happened?
Yeah, the task force was duly formed by the Honorable Minister, and they have been working. And as a matter of fact, we do have forts and castles stretching from the extreme east coast to the extreme western coast. And so this task force is supposed to be working right from Kita to Axim. And they have been working. It's been quite challenging. This is a phenomenon that has been with us for centuries. And so it's not going to take just a couple of months to wholly eradicate it. They've been working, they've been doing the necessary stakeholder engagement with the traditional people, with the communities, and so on. But there's also several other elements that would make this whole thing complete. It also includes infrastructure, it includes education, it includes to some extent security. And so all these activities are taking place at the same time. Just today, in fact, this week, the Honorable Minister Catherine Apeku has been in the central region, specifically Cape Coast, with the contractors who are supposed to be constructing a new toilet facility around the Cape Coast Castle.
Mr. So clearly the first solution is failing because we're still seeing a lot more people defecating at the castle and the beaches. And so what strategy are you employing now?
Well, the first strategy is not failing. This is a phenomenon that is socio-cultural, it is socio-economic. You know very well that this is a country that has a huge deficit in toilet facilities, specifically in homes. The only reason why this one has come up specifically is because, or more pronounced, is because it is around a tourist facility. This is something that has been with us for a long time. It is not to say that nothing can be done about it. A lot is being done about it. A brand new toilet facility is being built. The facility we are talking about is a World Heritage Site. And so you cannot just go there and start doing all kinds of things. We're working on putting around some kind of perimeter fencing. We need to design it properly so that it conforms to UNESCO standards for World Heritage Sites and so on and so forth. And so it's not something that's going to take just a day or just a whim to eradicate immediately.
You want to give timelines for these projects so that at least we have a timeline when we can say we are eradicating or we've totally eradicated open defecation?
Okay, now this is the point that I would like to make very clearly. eradicating something of this magnitude, which is sociocultural, is not something that you can do it gradually over a certain period of time. It is like converting people to Christians. Okay, you cannot set a timeline and say that by the next 4 or the next 5 days, I will make sure that everybody becomes a Christian.
But at least if these facilities are put up, like the toilet facilities, you can now start finding people who do not use the facility but decide to go to the beaches.
That is currently ongoing. There is a toilet facility within the precincts of the castle. Earlier this year, a number of people were sent to court and they were fined. Okay? A number of people were sent to court, they were arrested, and they were fined. Now, some people in the community have made it a point that they will harm, they will create havoc anytime security people will go there to stop them from this particular activity. And so, as I said earlier, it's not something that you just go and take one action and you have it resolved immediately.
Okay, so do you have a new plan to deal with the people who are harming the security people so that we can still go ahead?
So what we think would be one addition to the previous intervention is to have some perimeter fencing. Okay, but the topography of the area is extremely unfriendly. And so the design is taking place, the engineering is ongoing. We're looking for the most suitable corrosion-proof fencing for the area. And at the same time, we must conform to the UNESCO protocols in handling World Heritage Sites. So all these activities are taking place at the same time. And let me assure you, we're working around the clock because it is our best or our most patronized tourist facility at the Ghana Museums and Monuments Board. And so it is extremely dear to us ourselves, and we're doing everything possible to bring it up to the standard we all want to see.
All right, many thanks to you. Kwame Sowu is chairman of the Museums and Monument Board. We'll be following this with keen eye. But the Boabo Market, a coalition of civic society groups in the northern region, is calling on the government to make available the policy documents on the free senior high school education in order to clear speculations on the policy requirements and provisions. The group said the policy document will guide all stakeholders, including school authorities, parents, teachers, and the entire country in their expectations and responsibilities towards the policy. Martina Bugri has the rest of the story.
Addressing a press conference in Tamale, a member of the coalition, Abubakari Ayuba, said there was the need for the country not to repeat previous mistakes in other pro-poor policies being implemented. He called on government to make adequate provision for students who would be repeated.
We also call on the government to give due consideration to the following, which have come up from our interactions with schools, students, parents, and other stakeholders. That government make adequate provision for students who will repeat a class at the senior high level, as well as those in the TVET institutions. That government takes appropriate steps at improving the conditions and teaching and learning environment of deprived senior high schools.
The Boabo Market platform called for a sustainable funding for the free senior high school program, adding that government could look at tax holidays for multinational companies as an avenue.
We have observed other pro-poor policies that have suffered because of funding. And if you take the school feeding program, for instance, it has always been in arrears because government finds it difficult to actually fund it. And so if you look at the free senior high school policy, it's a very huge policy. And proposing that it will be funded from voluntary contribution and then the oil money. We think that the government can actually tax these multinationals and then use that to actually fund the free senior high school policy.
They also demanded that government pay 50% of monies to schools when they resume, with the rest after the admissions.
We also demand that government make advance payments to senior high schools each year. At least 50% should be paid before reopening, and the difference transferred when all admissions are being completed. And we further demand that under no circumstance should the policy lead to admission of more day students than boarders.
Away from that, at the new end block of the University of Ghana, where preliminary stages of the National Science and Maths Quiz competition took place, St. John's Grammar had a landslide victory with 31 points. Nancy Emefa-Jadosi caught up with them shortly after they were announced winners.
Do you think that when you meet any other school in the next round of the competition, they won 8th, you'd be able to pull it as you pulled it today?
Let me tell you one thing. There's one thing I know, that St. John is the greatest of all. St. John is the best of all. So it doesn't matter the school that we meet. We still continue to go forward. You know?
I always say I teach moral science to encourage my boys to perform. That's why I come. So I don't know much about the questions, but I'm here to give them the necessary encouragement. That's what brings about the excitement.
What do you think did the trick for you?
I would say investment in preparation, because after following this competition for some time, I've seen that that is the secret. It's not about the name of the school, it's about how much you invest in the kids. Once you do that, you will be able to perform at the big stage.
Very excited, but I'm also somehow not happy with what's happening up there, because you could see we're not very stable at the true or false.
What is your expectations ahead of the 1/8 stage? It's not going to be an easy contest, you know that?
Yeah, we know that, because in the 1/8 stage, all the senior schools will be joining. So we are just praying that the Lord will put himself in it, because everything should be done by his will. So he should put himself in the balloting, everything. So where he thinks it's time for us to go or we should continue, he will help us do it.
Okay, so that's the first contest, and it's been amazing already here at the new end block at the University of Ghana. Now, the second contest that we're going to be having is going to be between Xavier SHS from the Eastern region. We're going to have George Penny in the Volta region, and also Navrongo Senior High School. It's going to be an interesting contest, but trust Joy News, we're going to bring you all the updates.
Pope John Senior High School was handed a shocking defeat at the ongoing quiz contest. The Pojo students were hopeful they will emerge winners, but luck eluded them when St. Francis Xavier and Swedro Senior High School scored 44 points. A fourth tie-breaker question separated the two teams. Maxwell Agwagwa caught up with students of Pope John's before and after the competition.
Pope John's Senior High School, they are going inside the auditorium right now, and they are competing against Swedro Senior High School and then St. Francis Xavier. We want to find out from them how prepared they are and how they are getting ready. You can see quite a number of them, all of them waited to get inside to provide the necessary support for their team to qualify to the next stage of the competition. Let's find out. Arise and shine, for you are the future leaders of Ghana. Almighty Pojo, arise and shine, for you are a bright light in the world. We put our trust to the Lord, the sacred heart, we trust in you. Bella, we set you, we will work for God's kingdom all day. For some, the morale is very high amongst Pope John's Senior High School. They are ready to go in there. They are going in for the kill. A lot of them told me,
if any student from St. Francis Xavier, from Swedro Senior High, Brempe, Presec, whatever, we are here to tell them that this year we are doing it. In fact, we are taking the cup back down. Yeah. We are here, full
The competition has ended. St. Francis Xavier won the contest for today. As you can see, morale is quite low on the part of Pope John's. They came into this competition with a lot of expectation, hoping to win, but St. Francis Xavier, they won. Let's talk to Pope John's, and then later we'll come to St. Francis Xavier. Let's find out from them what the competition was like.
No, I'm not disappointed. In a contest, you win or lose, but we are hoping that our points will be high enough, because I think our points were high, and so I'm sure we'll make it into the next stage.
Now let's talk to the guys from St. Francis Xavier. They carried the day after answering the question, the fourth question, a tiebreaker question.
It wasn't easy. Actually, we getting, many questions wrong for the tiebreaker was not easy, but we just say we know that was God's grace.
Xavier has been to the finals twice, and this is the third time we are going to the finals, and we are going to win it hands down. Mark the name, St. Francis Xavier. St. Francis Xavier, we revere your name for all your good works. We give you thanks and praise. A saint of compassion, intercede for us. A saint of spirituality, praise.
Now to your headlines on top of the hour. And Health Ministry to set up health intelligence units to monitor activities at various hospitals across the country, including the infamous no-bed syndrome, even as it launches investigations into the death of a 70-year-old man who was turned away by 7 hospitals. And a 1-year-old baby has been allegedly injected with an expired intravenous drug, benzylpenicillin, at the Amasaman Government Hospital. Parents of the baby want the hospital to sign an undertaking accepting full responsibility in case anything happens to the child. Attorney General and Minister of Justice describes the Ghana Football Association as an obscene emblem of scandal, corruption and illegal enterprise, and secures a 10-day injunction on all activities of the Football Association. In business, Ghana Association of Savings and Loans Companies appealed to the Bank of Ghana not to increase the industry's minimum capital requirements by more than 100%. Enjoy News is learning that officials of Kelny GVG are attempting to forcefully plug into data devices of telecommunications companies in the country.